Hey, what's up guys, my name is Brad, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another Duel Links video, welcome back to another Duel Links discussion video. Today we're going to be talking about why Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links' 5Ds update might suck. Now this is going to be my opinion and how I'm feeling right now, because I think a lot of people over the past week have kind of ridden that 5Ds hype wave we've been getting from TGS, from leaks, from the trailer. We've kind of gone from this to this and back and forward again over the past like 1 or 2 weeks or so. And right now, I want to have a discussion with you guys as to how you're all feeling right at this moment. Before 5Ds drops, before we go anywhere near the Duel Links application, what are your thoughts on 5Ds World, everything we've had revealed so far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Before we get into the video, I want to give a big thank you to Foxtails, my 3rd channel member. A big thank you to you for really helping the channel out. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to become a channel member, you can click the link description down below. It's like a Twitch sub. $5 a month I think it is, and it helps me out more than you watching adverts on my channel does a month. It really does help out the channel, so if you do decide to support, thank you very much. Of course I'll give you a shout out, and there's some other benefits as well with regards to that with live streaming, so yeah. Let's move on to the content you actually came for, the 5 reasons why 5Ds World might suck. Starting with one I think that everyone is kind of feeling right now, and that is Jack Atlas not being in the game. This is probably the biggest blow for me personally, because I have a friend who really likes Jack and I know he's kind of down on it. And Jack, I don't really like his Red Dragon Archfiend archetype, but as a character he is one of the best characters Yu-Gi-Oh has ever had. His energy, his soul, it's absolutely insane, and I think that Duel Links is going to be missing out, having to wait till 2019, January 24th I believe that's when we had leaked it to be coming. That's going to suck. This was reconfirmed back at the Tokyo Game Show livestream last night, where Kiza, Yusei and Jack's VAs were all in attendance, and they showed off some new gameplay, showed off some new summoning animations, and Jack's VA kind of complained and made a little skit about why his character Jack isn't in the starting roster, and they want an entrance for Jack fit for a king. He is the king of turbo dueling in 5Ds, so it makes sense they want to kind of wait it out. And there is a bright side to this. The event they give us for 5Ds could be really good. If they want to make an explosive impact, as Jack's VA kind of alluded to, they could do a nice Friendship Cup like Duelist Chronicles event that takes us all the way from the beginning of 5D Season 1 through to the end and lets us like relive in Yusei's footsteps and then go up against Jack and beat him, and that would be a really nice event they could kind of tie things up with and give Jack in the game in January. That would be really cool, but the reason for Jack not being in I think is pretty clear if we look back at the GX world. So in GX we had Jaden with Elemental Heroes, Asta with Destiny Heroes, Chaz with his Ojamas, a fan favourite character, Alexis bought the competitive Cyber Angels, and then you had Bastion, who didn't really bring much new to the table at all. He had some really cool elemental skills which saw some play in like Gustos and other meme decks, but apart from that he was just kind of there to be there. Of course in the trailer we saw Crowler, but Crowler was never actually in Duel Links until October, mid-October I think it was. And of course we know that Trudge is coming to Duel Links in mid-October, so kind of interesting that they decided not to include Trudge in the 5Ds trailer, but include Jack when he's so far out. And I think, looking at, you know, the 5Ds characters, you have Yusei, who is a fan favorite, he's the protagonist, everyone kind of loves him. You have Akiza, probably the most badass female protag in any Yu-Gi-Oh show, and, you know, a lot of people love her. Then you have the twins, Leo and Luna, who have like some cards that are kind of okay. You know, you have Ancient Fairy Dragon for Luna, and Power Tool saw some recent competitive play in the TCG, but back in 2009 when they came out they didn't really see any play at all, and both their decks aren't going to change the meta in any way at all, so they're two kind of low tier characters I think, and I think people are going to skip on them and sleep on them, and it makes sense as to why Crow is now here, because obviously Crow was a very big part of Yu-Gi-Oh's success in 2009-2010 when Black Wings came out and kind of revolutionized dueling forever and really brought, you know, really made Yu-Gi-Oh more popular than it actually was in Japan at least. And because everyone kept buying Black Wings, the deck was so popular that in the anime they had to actually change Crow from being a villain to one of the signers, one of the heroes of the show. So Crow has had a tremendous impact on, you know, the Yu-Gi-Oh game, and I think Konami kind of betting on that happening here, so which is why they're leaving Jack for a while, because I think if you took all of Jack's cards in context, if depending on what we get, because Jack doesn't have like a bajillion amount of cards that Yusei does, I think Jack would be the strongest at launch, based on what they could potentially give us, because he also has that backlog of Arc 5 cards that are kind of decent. So if at launch Jack came, I think Jack would probably be the strongest character at launch. So I think they kind of want to tame things out a bit, ease us into 5Ds, and just let us dive into that box and dive into our wallets, and I think that would be a pretty good idea going forward. Next we have the issue of level 30 being the max duelist level for 5Ds. Of course we saw this leaked, and I believe this was confirmed again on the TGS stream yesterday. Maximum of 30 levels is pretty disappointing, and I'm kind of in two mindsets about it, because I can see the positive in this. I can see that Konami might want to actually straggle out the events or the levels longer and longer to make it so the game has content for months to come, and so you don't have to rely on bringing in new events to add in new cards and skills, and obviously those events take a lot longer dev time and dev money to actually complete rather than just adding in new cards. And so Konami could sit there in 2 months time and add in 5 more levels to get us to 35, 2 months later to get us to 40, and 2 months later after that to get us to 45 and be up on par with the GX characters and the Duel Monsters characters. And I think that would be a nice way of easing players into new cards, new skills, new strategies, and would allow them to accommodate for power creep as time goes on, because they could give us more powerful rewards as level up rewards going further down the line, which I think is one of the problems with the current Duel Monsters and GX characters, is that they've kind of said, hey, 45 is here, your rewards kind of suck. And I think we can see that from Yubel, where she has like all of her rewards are 3 copies of cards, and we already have some of those cards in the game anyway. So being able to kind of adapt to how Duel Links is changing and shifting as a meta, I think that's a good reason as to why Konami could have decided against giving us all 45 levels right now. It could also be because they could be seeing data on their end that suggests that people aren't leveling characters up fast enough, so they might kind of want to wait until they see that more people have done that. And this doesn't even begin to accommodate for the fact that GX's stage rewards, or stage levels, sorry, hasn't changed since 1 year ago. It's still stuck at 30, Duel Monsters is still stuck at 60, so if Konami decide to give us an update to that stage level, then maybe we could see 5Ds coming in at 30. If not, maybe 5Ds will come in at 15. Maybe that'll be an area that sucks, because obviously the stage levels are a very good resource for gems and for other event items and just items you can use to farm. So hopefully they don't mess that up, but again, it's an area of it's a shame, it's a shame, especially when you consider the fact as well that Konami have, with level 30 characters, the level 30 rewards, sorry, they've been kind of starving us of gems with that. With Zane and with Yubel, they both gave us Ace Monster rewards. So with Zane we got Cyber End Dragon, a second copy, and with Yubel we got a skill that lets her kind of recycle her second and third forms into her first form. Both rewards that kind of help that Ace Monster, which I think might be a theme they want to continue going with further down the line, rather than giving us the 300 gems or whatever it was for actually reaching that goal. Next we have the elephant in the room, which we got revealed last night, which I think everyone is kind of a bit disappointed about, and that is Stardust Dragon being a main box UR, not available via Yusei's level up or via his starter deck. That to me is the biggest flaw, and I think it really sets a precedent going forward as to whether all of the Ace Monsters, for at least the signers, are we going to get any of them as, star deck URs? If Yusei doesn't, then you can kind of easily assume that Akiza doesn't, that Crow doesn't, that Leo and Luna doesn't, that Jack doesn't, and that going forward, each main character is going to have a Signer Dragon as part of a cover card on a box, or be inside of a main box, and then going forward that's how it's going to be. Like in January we'll probably get a box, it'll have Red Dragon Archfiend on it, and that'll be how you get more than one copy, unless you want to, just play with Jack. So that sucks. It sucks that, if you wanted to play Stardust outside of Yusei, that's the only way you're going to be around to do it, because right now I think the only other way is going to be via a skill. And that's kind of coming in on my next point, is that the Signer Dragons are locked behind skills, if that is exactly how they're going to do it. We know there's skills in the game that add 2 Tuner Monsters plus 1 Signer Dragon to the extra deck and to the main deck for each of the main characters we have unlockable from the get-go. This is interesting because you're kind of forced, if you're free to play, to run the Signer Dragon with the particular character, which I think for most people they'll be okay with because they want the voice lines, they want the animation, that's kind of why you run them with those characters. But if you're not that and you're competitive, then you're going to want to play Stardust Dragon and Black Rose, etc. in as many decks as possible, which is why the box thing kind of works. Additionally, they can also give us more skills whenever they release a box. So say for the box with Blackwing Dragon in, if that's how they're going to go with that, they can release the Scale Blackwinged Gale, I think it is, or Black Rose Gale, sorry, that actually lets you use Black Rose Dragon's first effect when it's summoned outside of a Synchro summon. So if you bring it back from the graveyard, then you can use its effect to blow up the field, and that could be a really, really nice kind of bonus to kind of give players, to incentivize them to go into the box to get more than one copy of that monster you can't get outside of the skill, and would allow them to kind of accommodate for how the meta is changing. If they think that the meta needs Black Rose now, they can, give Black Rose in a box at some point. If they think it's, too early, they can, they can still wait on that. Moving back to point 2 real quick. With the Sign of Dragons being behind skills, this could be a perfect opportunity for Konami to say, hey, the level 30 reward, like with Yubel, is going to be a skill, and it's going to be this this Dragon Mark of the Dragon skill that's going to add the Tuner monsters and the Sign of Dragon to your extra deck. That, I think, is one very likely possibility, which means that if on Monday or if on Tuesday when we get the 5 years update, if we log into Duel Links and all we see is Yusei's level rewards and he has something different for a skill, like at the start, and Stardust isn't there, then maybe we're going to have to level all of the characters up to 30 before we can even touch Stardust Dragon or any of the other Sign of Dragons. That's going to suck, but it's going to encourage people to play the game more and might encourage Konami to actually sit there and go, hey, all of you guys have got the level up rewards now for all the characters, now I'm going to give you some more, and we're going to keep drip feeding you content, and I think that is a good thing for the game, rather than a negative. It does suck that, we might have to wait and have to farm and grind out as much as possible on launch day to get those cards that people actually want to use, but if that's the case, then it's not the end of the world. But it's still, the fact that the Sign of Dragons are, or at least Stardust is in the main box and not going to be a free starter deck card, is a real shame for free-to-play players and for just fans of the anime in general. And finally, the last point, because I kind of combined 3 and 4 into one point there. If the Sign of Dragons aren't the starter deck URs, then what is? Because currently it's looking like, and this is kind of a thing that I kind of missed completely. So if you remember back in 2 weeks ago, we did the leak rewards for the gate drops, and we had a bunch of cards there for Yusei, for Akiza, for Crow, for Leo and Luna when we first kind of discovered that Jack wasn't coming to the game until a long time away. I forgot one big point, and that is that in GX in Duel Monsters, most of the characters that don't have a kind of a one of Ace Monster UR, they have their Ace Monsters farmable at the gate. So Yugi has Dark Magician, Kyber has Blue Eyes, Jaden has Neos, Chaz has Ojama King, Alexis has Cyberblader, Asta doesn't have, I think it's Plasma obviously isn't farmable at the gate. I think you can only get one of them in Duel Links to this very day. So we know all of those gate rewards, and if we look at TGS, we know that Konami is actually demoing the game off with the the skill to add the Sign of Dragons to the extra deck, and demoing off Yusei at least with access to Junk Berserker in his extra deck. So does that mean that Junk Berserker is going to be Yusei's Ace monster for the starter deck, the free UR we're going to get? And by that logic, that would mean Rosaria is going to be Akiza's, and Elf and the Raven is going to be Crow's, which I think don't fit at all. I think it's a real shame that that's the case, and I kind of hope that that's not what's going to happen, but I think more than likely it is, so we'll have to see when Tuesday comes around. One last thing I want to touch on is going back to those skills, those Mark of the Dragon skills. The fact that you'd have to play Black Rose with 2 Copy Plant in your deck sucks. If you really want to play a Black Rose right now, that sucks, because what if you want to play Destiny Heroes? What if you wanted to chunk Black Rose into Noble Knights or into Ice Barriers or something like that, something kind of random, and you wanted to experiment and try and pull off some insane combos? You really can't, because having those Copy Plants in the deck is A, going to increase your inconsistency because you have 2 extra cards in the deck you don't need, and B, it's not going to synergize at all well with the deck because of its type and attributes. So it doesn't make much sense. It makes sense from a free-to-play perspective. It makes sense from Konami kind of being cautious as to how powerful these Sign of Dragons are going to be and how much they're going to affect the game. But apart from that, let me know your thoughts, question down below, what you think of Yu-Gi-Oh 5D's world before the game actually drops, before the update drops on Tuesday. If you guys stuck around this far, use the hashtag you say has great hair in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.